My name is Dan Dorval, and I'm President and CEO of Dorval and Cherney Financial Advisors. I am an independent certified financial planner and author of my book, Financial Success for the Rest of Us, Reality-Based Financial Planning for Mainstream America.
Hi, my name is Leah Woodley. I'm an associate financial advisor with Dorval and Cherney Financial Advisors. Our conversations discuss what it means to do quality of life planning in all areas of your life.
Dan, the Nationwide Retirement Institute recently put out some statistics about concerns that millennials have with purchasing a home versus saving towards retirement. And they said 58% of millennials feel like it has to be a choice between purchasing a home or saving for retirement. Now, I know when I was purchasing a home initially, I had no concerns whatsoever. It was a starter home. It was very, very affordable for me. So that just was not an issue for me. When I moved into my larger home, I had more anxiety about it, but I still never necessarily felt like I had to make that choice. I felt like both were doable, but a lot of people obviously do not feel that way. So, do you want to speak to that? Do you think the current economic climate is contributing to that? What are your thoughts about that?
We're being bombarded with these affordability types of articles and surveys saying that people just can't afford to buy a house, they can't afford to live their life, and kind of do the American dream concept. And to some extent, I would argue that's very true. And for others, I would argue it's not as true. So you're the classic example of somebody where you made consistently good decisions and you consistently lived within your means. You had the resources available in order to go from that starter home then into a bigger home. And now you were making decisions that, yeah, they're hard decisions because buying a house is a
Mhm.
big deal. But at the same time, you felt like you could deal with that because you were consistently living within your means. I think what we're seeing with so many people is they are not aligning their resources with what's important to them. So even if they make a really good income, that income is being spread so thinly across lots of different priorities that when it comes to a house payment, which is a massive priority, now all of a sudden they feel like they just don't have the money for it. And the best way to create the money is to stop contributing for retirement. Now they have bigger paychecks and they feel like now I can make a house payment. So they do they get this sense that it's either one or the other of retirement versus buying a house, when in reality, if they realigned their resources with their values and their goals, they probably have the cash flow somewhere else to be able to do both. Now, another challenge we see all the time is you have these millennials that are really like overachievers. They're trying to max out their 401k.
Mhm.
And so a lot of their income resources are going towards retirement. They are out of balance. They don't have enough cash flow to be able to afford that house. In that case, they can cut back in many cases, at least for a while, and cut back their contributions to their 401k, get into the house that fits their quality of life, and then move forward later on with increasing their retirement plan contributions.
Thank you for sharing that. Like you said, we do see that quite often. When it comes to a middle ground, what does that realistically look like? That balance between saving for retirement and being able to purchase a home?
We do consider buying a house as the ultimate quality of life goal. That's
Mhm.
where you live. So if you're not working, you're spending a lot of time in your home. That might be where you're raising your family. So we do consider that to be your highest quality of life goal. And when somebody's talking about buying a house, that is our primary focus as far as financial planning and advice. So we're going to concentrate the resources on that goal. Once you are in the house, then we start reevaluating, okay, what resources are still available? What should we do from there? So in many cases, we are cutting back retirement plan contributions to only what gets matched.
Mhm.
Now we have the maximum amount of resources. We're still getting a match. We are still saving for retirement, but we have the maximum amount of cash flow available to help us get into this house. So that might be saving for the down payment. We can get there faster because we're not saving as much for retirement. And now we get into the house. Now we have a sense of this is my new house payment. Here are my taxes, my insurance. I know kind of what my utilities are going to be. I start to get that sense of what does it really cost to have a house? A lot of these millennials only look at the principal and interest part of their mortgage payment. They're not thinking about property taxes and insurance. Insurance has skyrocketed in recent years.
Mhm.
And all of these carrying costs all affect your ability to pay for that house. So you have to be realistic going in. But now, if you've aligned your resources effectively, you might come back and say, oh, I was contributing this amount to my 401k, just enough to get the match. I can now start to systematically increase that. Maybe it's 1% per year. Maybe I can decide to jump up by 5% or whatever it is. And now I can start to rebalance between this goal of I have my house and I'm saving for retirement at the same time.
Yeah, I think it's really critical to look at the big picture. Sometimes we get so hyper focused on what's going on right now that we don't look at the big picture. And just the thought of reducing retirement contributions to achieve this goal may feel very overwhelming. It may feel like, oh, I'm going to be behind in retirement. But this is just one isolated moment for a small period of time that you would need to reduce your contributions. And like you said, once you're settled and you know what expenses are going to truly look like, then you can realign your resources um, towards retirement. So, what is one mindset shift that you feel millennials can make to reduce that stress right now? And I know you kind of talked about it throughout this video, but you could leave millennials with one piece of advice, one nugget that may help to shift their perspective. What would it be?
I think it's important that you understand your life is not static.
Yeah.
Your life is going to be a constant journey. Your path is going to shift and evolve. Job changes, relationship changes, all these things are going to happen, and your values and priorities and motivations are going to evolve. So, for example, when I talk about static, people will say, hey, I need to contribute at least 15% to my 401k or 10% or whatever. And they pick a number and then they feel like that they have to do that at all stages.
Hmm.
It's not true at all. You're going to go through these time periods where it makes sense that life is dynamic. So how much you're contributing for retirement is also dynamic. You might cut it back. You might then increase. Maybe when you first have kids, maybe you have to cut back in order to pay for daycare, or maybe you have a lot of student loans and there are too many demands on your cash flow. So then balancing your resources in alignment with your goals makes sense. Now, maybe those kids are older. Maybe you're an empty nester. Maybe you have a lot of income because you're at your highest income years. Now, maybe you're maxing out your 401k for a number of years and kind of playing catch up for a while. That is how life works. So, getting out of the mindset that you need to do everything all at once, all the time, that is not realistic for most people.
That is invaluable advice. So thank you for sharing that. Well, this was a great conversation. And until next time, have a good one.
Thanks, Leah.
Thank you.